As the victims of last Saturday's shootings continue to heal, we turn our attention to the prosecution of the suspect, Jared Lee Loughner. Could he face the death penalty, and what's it going to mean if he chooses to plead insanity? Well, Tom Dupree is a former top official in the Justice Department, and Meg Strickler also joins us, a criminal defense attorney. Welcome to you both, and thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
Happy to be here.
All right, Tom, I want to start with you because, first of all, every federal judge in Arizona has said, I'm not going to handle this case, avoiding a conflict of interest. How does it work? How do we find a judge now, and how does the case proceed?
Right. The judges in Arizona have recused themselves from this. Obviously, one of the victims of this terrible tragedy was the chief federal judge in Arizona. And so what is going to happen is that they're going to have a judge from outside the district, a judge from San Diego, in all likelihood, come in and preside over the trial. This is standard procedure when you have a case of this nature, one that really impacts the judges themselves, and that you want to make sure that, as terrible as this crime was, that you have a fair and just procedure. And for that reason, they're going to go the extra mile to ensure that they bring in a judge whose partiality simply cannot be questioned.
And what about the issue of venue? Because, you know, I wouldn't want to be Loughner's attorney, although he has an excellent attorney, trying to find an impartial jury in that area. I can assume they're going to move for a new venue.
I think there's almost no doubt that the defense will request a new venue, and I think there's an excellent chance that they will try this case somewhere outside the Tucson area for the reasons we were discussing. I think also, if you're the prosecution, you've got to think, we've got such a powerful case here. Why would we want to subject the verdict to being challenged on this procedural issue? So you're really taking a potential argument that could be made down the road away from the defendant by saying, let's transfer this trial to a city which obviously isn't as closely involved in this tragedy as Tucson was.
All right, Meg, do you think as his attorney you would attempt an insanity defense? I mean, we're hearing more and more about his mental state. You know, there haven't been any formal psychological evaluations. Would you head down that road?
Well, I do think he's going to get a mental evaluation as part of all this, but as his defense lawyer, I would use it more as a mitigating factor in sentencing phases and those kind of things. I don't think it's going to work as an insanity plea because I don't think he had the requisite, I don't think I know what I'm doing here. It's called the right from wrong test. I don't think he has the requisite ability to get acquitted in this situation. I think the defense attorney is going to use it in mitigating factors, saying, look, he's got some mental instability here. I don't think he's a candidate for the death penalty, should he be found guilty.
Do you think he will be facing the death penalty? Do you think that's where prosecutors will go?
I think, if you look at it from a legal standpoint, we've got a federal area for trial and we've got a state area for trial here. In other words, he can be like Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma. He can be charged in the federal system and in the state system. And in both contexts, he is eligible to be charged with the death penalty. So I do think there's a strong probability we've got this in a discussion mode, and the defense attorney is going to try very hard to avoid the death penalty being instituted. And so we're going to use mitigating. When you have a death penalty involved, you have aggravating circumstances, and then you also have mitigating circumstances that you bring in. And one of the things that's aggravating, obviously, is that makes the death penalty eligible is that the federal employees were killed in the federal system in official, duties. And in the state system, it's aggravating because of the multiple victims and young victims. So, so as a defense attorney, we argue on the opposite side, mitigating stuff, no prior histories, interaction with the criminal system other than little stuff, and that he's a little bit of an issues with the mental area.
All right, and Tom, I want to ask you quickly about Judy Clark, a very prominent defense attorney that will be defending Loughner. She's worked with Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and multiple other people. In fact, in that case, we know he did not want to plead insane, and so they moved ahead. He did plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. How aggressive do you think she will be on behalf of Loughner?
There's no question she's a very skilled and talented attorney. She's done these sorts of cases before, as you note, so she has experience in this area. But I'll tell you something, she has her work cut out for her. This is not a whodunit. The only real issue, as I see it at this point, is whether he was in fact insane. Personally, my view is the evidence we've seen so far shows that he was not legally insane, that this was a premeditated act of evil. So I think he's got very talented defense lawyers lined up, but at the same time, they have a real uphill battle in this case.
All right, Tom Dupree and Meg as well, we thank you both for giving us some insight into this case. It will play out probably for years to come. Thank you both.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.